All right, I think we can get started. Well, good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on where you are. I'd like to extend all of you a very warm welcome. My name is Sandra Lowe. I am the head of corporate communications at Zoho, and it is my pleasure to be your host during this hour. And thank you for taking the time to join us today for this informative session on how and why a modern BI and analytics platform is the key to insights-driven businesses. Insight-driven businesses are growing at a much faster rate than others. So what are they and what gives them this competitive advantage? And just how do modern BI and analytics platforms provide the underpinnings of a successful insights-driven business? These are all topics our presenters will dive into today. And we'll also walk through a case study in which a global enterprise put these strategies to practice. We'll share their lessons learned and the transformation they've seen in their business. So I'm very pleased to introduce two speakers today. First, we have Boris Evelson, who is a vice president and principal analyst at Forrester Research and the industry expert in insights-driven businesses. Boris, thank you for being with us today.
It's my pleasure. Looking forward to the session.
Wonderful. And secondly, we have Chandra Shekhar LSP, or LSP for short, and he is the head evangelist covering BI and analytics at Zoho. Thank you for speaking today, LSP.
Thank you, Sandy, and looking forward to the session as well.
And both will provide great insight as they guide you through this topic today. So I will now hand over presentation to our speakers. Boris, the room is yours.
All right, excellent. I'm going to accept the controls, and I am in control now. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I see people dialing in, connecting from all over the world. That's great. This is my favorite topic, so I so much appreciate that all of you are taking times out of your busy days or evenings or mornings to join us. So I've been in the business of information management for about 40 years, last 30 years in the business of BI. And for the first a few decades, in this environment, we always knew that there is tangible value from business intelligence investments and usage, but we for many years we thought of BI as more of something providing intangible benefits, kind of an easier decision making, more transparency, etc. But today we absolutely have proof that there is a direct correlation between a more advanced insight-driven business capabilities and tangible business benefits, tangible business outcomes. So a few years ago, some economists, Economic Intelligence Unit, Morningstar, PitchBook data predicted that insight-driven businesses were going to grow 8 to 10 times faster than global economy, than industry averages. That's not 8 to 10% faster, that's 8 to 10 times, 8 to 10x faster than the global economy. You know, we really like that. So we dove deep into this research, and yes, absolutely, when we today, when we look at our clients, when we look at the broad market, and when we compare those companies that are advanced in their insight-driven business capabilities, we do find that they're almost 3 times more likely to be growing at double digits year over year as compared to beginners. I think if we take a look at companies that grow 20% year over year or faster, then advanced clients are 5 times more likely to be in that position as opposed to the beginners. And every year we look at multiple case studies from business intelligence, data governance, data management, right? Everything that's related to these insight-driven business capabilities, and we do see a 2 to 6 times return on these investments, typically as calculated over 3 years, with a payback somewhere between 4 to 9 months, I would say. Those are the average. So now you see that proof of the differentiation of being advanced in insight-driven business capabilities versus not. You see proof that there is correlational evidence and direct evidence that this is now tangible, right? This is not just nice to have. So let's spend a minute of what we mean when we talk about insight-driven businesses. So data-driven businesses, and most of you out there, especially those who work for large enterprises, you are already data-driven, right? You probably have a data warehouse or a data lake. You have some kind of analytics a platform, or the way to disseminate data to all of the key stakeholders. So you do set your goals and objectives, and you build metrics so that you can track those goals and objectives again against the actuals, and you're observing and exploring, etc., etc. And that's typically where data-driven companies stop, and that's kind of where we define a data-driven organizations versus in an insight-driven organization. You take a lot more steps. You're continuously experimenting and refining and optimizing the process. Then you're scaling it across the enterprise. I'll call out some numbers in a couple of seconds, and then you actually make decisions and act on those insights that these platforms and applications provide. And then you need to have a capability to link those insights and decisions and actions to the tangible business outcomes, right? And hopefully you continue to go through this loop, right? So that in a nutshell is an insight-driven business capability. Unfortunately, and I'm sure I've been around the block long enough to make an educated guess that most of you are not in that position, not at that level of advancement yet. And my gut feeling is confirmed by annual survey that we run, where among many other things that we survey a broad market, we see the market kind of a self-assess in terms of these capabilities, and as you can see, more than half are still at their beginner stage. The penetration rate of enterprise-grade business intelligence applications and platforms is somewhere around 20%. Definitely less than half of all of the decision-making in the enterprise is happening based on data and analytics. So even after 3 or 4 decades that these technologies and best practices have been around, this is still pretty much a greenfield opportunity as far as I'm concerned. So what is it that we recommend that our clients do? Well, among many other things, we publish research on these 5 insight-driven business principles, that investments in these insights capabilities, not just technology, but people, process, data, need to be strategic. These insights need to be pervasive and delivered at the edge. And when I say at the edge, I don't really mean edge devices, although that's definitely something where some of you may want to go. But I mean embedded in all of the business applications, right? A typical business professional doesn't live in a BI platform, right? A typical business professional lives in an ERP application, in a CRM application, in the productivity apps like email and calendar. So delivering insights right there where those business users live is important. That's what we mean by pervasive and embedded. Those insights must be actionable, right? If you're using a BI application that's disconnected from a business application where you actually take an action, right? Your insights, yeah, they're kind of loosely they are actionable, but they really are not. So it is important to practice embedded BI, kind of create an embedded BI environment where wherever you get an insight, you make a decision and you take an action within exactly the same environment. And then if you follow those 3 first principles, then that 4th principle that I talked about earlier, that then the process can lend itself to continuous learning and improvement. And by the way, this is never, ever should be the realm of just data professionals. We call it a team sport. Basically, every single business person at every level of individual contributors or management or C-level executives, it's a team sport. Everyone should be consuming data, getting insights, and acting on them. So that's at a very high level description of the environment. And I'm not going to go through the differences between a data-aware, data-driven, and insight-driven. You can see this here, and definitely follow up with me and with Zoho to get more detail on this. But now we're going to get into the crux of it, specifically from the technology point of view, right? If you if you ever get me started talking about strategy and people and process and data architectures, processes like governance or people competencies or org structures, etc., that's way beyond 1 hour webinar that we are in right now. So today we are concentrating on technology. So out of all of these competencies, what is it that you need to do from the technology point of view, right? And it all boils down to what is it that the modern a BI platform augmented with advanced analytics, augmented with AI. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. What does a modern platform look like? So from the get-go, we've got these 9 or 10, keep losing count, we've got these 9 or 10 requirements that when you evaluate and prototype and do proofs of concepts and select one of these platforms, these are the things that you need to be concerned about. These are the things that you need to, these are the capabilities that need to be evaluating. So in the next 10 or 15 minutes, let's start decomposing them. So let's start with core business intelligence, right? This is a technology that has existed for about 30 years. So this is kind of a nothing new, right? I'm not describing anything new here, although capabilities like data preparation built right into a BI tool is relatively new, and this is a great capability because in the new global ever-changing economy, right? I don't want to sound like a cliche, but you know you know the cliche that change is the only constant and change is the only normal. You can't really wait. It is these business professionals who need insights on a moment's notice, because if they don't get those insights when they need them, their customers may go to a switch to another brand, right? So in the modern economy, social media, mobile phones, right? A consumer, an educated consumer, can switch from your brand to another brand, like literally with a single push of a button on their mobile phone. So you need to react immediately. And if your data integration refresh batch cycle is 24 hours, right? And basically the data that you're looking at is a day old. That's not good enough. So BI tools need to have their own capability to let these decision makers manipulate the data into a way, shape, and form that they need to consume it at that moment. Obviously, enterprise-grade semantic layer is a good old a table stake that needs to be there so that everyone is using the same version of the truth, right? Marching to the same tune. Data visualization and dashboards are great. Obviously, picture tells 1,000 words. Although this picture is also changing. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But enterprise reporting, pixel perfect enterprise reporting that need to be distributed in a burst mode to thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of enterprise users, such as operational reporting. That requirement does not go away. As a matter of fact, whenever we survey our clients and we ask them, out of all of the BI capabilities, what is the most critical one? Even though everyone talks about data visualization and dashboard, but enterprise is still number one requirement out there. But data visualization and dashboards is definitely a core capability, as well as data exploration, right? Because you don't know what you don't know, right? You, as a power user, can build a dashboard, or if you're not tech savvy, your data professional colleagues can build you the dashboards to track metrics that you need to track. Well, you don't know what you don't know, right? So you need to be able, again, on a moment's notice, be able to explore data and patterns and get insights from data that exists in data but may not be exposed in the canned dashboards or canned reports. So data exploration is an important capability. In the modern world, with a distributed architecture where nothing can be monolithic, right? Monolithic architecture is anathema to agile, adaptive environments that we are all in. So distributed BI platforms built on a distributed architecture is a requirement. So look for cloud native capabilities, because there's definitely kind of a misunderstanding out there. There are some legacy vendors that take on-premise architected legacy technology, single client monolithic technology. They just move it from on-premise to a cloud, and they say, well, our platform is now cloud enabled. Well, that's not really the case, and we'll go through that in a second. So you need to look for cloud native capabilities. In other words, platform architected natively to take advantage of all of the cloud services. It has to be able to consume data from multiple clouds in a very seamless way. So not only data from multiple clouds, but data from on-premise, because that's really where most of large enterprises are ending up. I'm not really aware of any large global, complex, heterogeneous, multi-line of business enterprise that's really concentrating all of their strategies on a single cloud. So hybrid cloud capability is important. We talked about data preparation on an earlier slide. So what that really means in the terminology that I like to use, it's got to be a full stack platform, right? It's not just the top layer reports and dashboards. You've got to have full stack capabilities, because you have to be able to prepare the data and mash up the data in those situations where kind of your enterprise data warehouse and a nightly batch cycle that is prepared and run by your IT colleagues, when that cannot keep up. So you may want to do your own data preparation. When you do your own data preparation, you need to cache it in some kind of a storage. So it may not be a full data warehouse, but it's got to be some kind of a database where you cache those results so that you can report on them when important. So full stack capabilities are important, so that you have all of the options, right? If you don't need to use data preparation or cache the data, if you always want to query your enterprise data warehouse, that's fine too, but I want you to have all of the options. The modern architecture is typically container-based for scalability, ease of deployment, load balancing, etc., etc. It needs to be microservices based, most importantly, so that many components are individually scalable, right? When you look at this, you gotta ask the vendor and yourself a question. There may be multiple individual microservices under the covers in that platform, but if those microservices or services are very tightly coupled, if you cannot decouple them and scale each one of them individually, then that's not what you want, right? So for the simplistic example, let's say your dashboard, right, your rendering engine and the engine that does all of, handles all of the slicing and dicing, right, the instrumentation and renders the visualization and re-renders them, right? So that's one service. And another service, so once you do all that, right, behind the scene, there is a query that goes to a database. So let's say there are actually two separate services there. If those services are tightly coupled, if you want two of them, you got to have two of both. If you want three of them, you got to have three of both. Well, that's not the best architecture. What I want you to look for is an architecture that will allow you to pick and choose. And if you have, let's say, a lot of users who are using the same dashboard, but they are slicing and dicing it in a different way so that all of them are generating different queries, you may need to spin up fewer rendering services, but a lot more query services, right? Or there are situations where you may want to do it the other way, right? Fewer query services, but a lot of different rendering services, right? So that's kind of the what I mean by a decoupled microservices base, so that each component can be scaled individually on demand. That's what we really mean here. Now, do not forget that business intelligence does not exist in your enterprise in isolation. It is part of your enterprise software ecosystem, especially as you go to higher maturity levels. If you recall, and if you look, take a closer look at the details behind those data-aware, data-driven, insight-driven, you will notice that as you go through that maturity curve, you will want to embed more and more analytics right into your business applications. So now your business apps, your custom software development, because embedding is custom software development, and your BI platforms, version controls, and the whole software development lifecycle are really tightly bound, right? So you can't really have a separate methodology for software development lifecycle and a separate methodology and tooling for testing and promoting things, promoting versions for production. So you actually need both, right? Because in some cases, probably at lower levels of maturity, when BI use cases are departmental or just one line of business, yeah, you want the BI platform to have the native version control capabilities, the native SDLC promotion, testing, releasing, etc. But as you get more to high levels of maturity, you push BI to the edge, you start embedding analytics capabilities. Your DevOps pros are going to want to step in, right? And they would want to start using the same methodology and the same tooling. So, and as some of you may or may not know, the most popular kind of a methodology and a type of platform for enterprise software development lifecycle is Git. Multiple platforms, but they're all loosely based on open source Git kind of a framework. So a BI platform that does natively and seamlessly integrates with Git is one of the requirements as you go through your maturity curve. As you embed, right? Once again, we're kind of working through the requirements to reach higher levels of maturity. As you go to that higher level of maturity, and you need not only empower your business users with insights, but you want them to have actionable insights, right? And then trace that entire lineage from data to signal to insights to action to tangible business outcome. You're going to be living in the world of embedded BI, and therefore you need to be able, whatever BI platforms, whatever BI tools you use, you need to be able to extend them, right? So typically at a high level, obviously there is a lot more behind this, but at a high level, we see our clients using JavaScript for front-end customization so that your BI kind of, whether you use iframe or whether you use other methodology to embed kind of dashboards and reports into your business application, so that they look and feel and behave and have the same instrumentation, etc., as the host application, as the business application within which you're embedding BI capabilities. And then, so you use JavaScript typically for those. And typically, if you want to automate some of the BI processes, do this first, do this next, run some processes offline, etc., in a way that in an automated way that doesn't come canned and packaged with the platform. For example, report scheduling and distribution is probably something that comes packaged with a modern BI platform. But if you want to do any kind of automation beyond that, you'd probably need to do some programming. So it is important that all of the endpoints in the platform are exposed via REST APIs so that you can have a host application that calls all of these different endpoints in an orchestrated way, in a way that you need to orchestrate it for automation. We no longer can afford to live in a read-only BI world, because again, change is the only constant, and change is happening too fast. So very often when you need to collect new data to fuel your insights and empower your business users with insights-driven business capabilities, you need to collect new data, right? And building a completely new business applications, extracting that data into a data warehouse is still a classical way to approach this, but that takes weeks at best, right? Typically months or longer. You can't really do that in days. So we now encourage you to look for BI platforms that have what we call translytical capabilities or read write, so that in a low code way, right, we're not expecting data professionals to use C or C sharp, right, to code new business data entry applications, but we do expect this a business analyst, data analyst to be able to with low code type of an approach, point and click, drag and drop, to author some basic data entry applications to collect, to quickly collect and organize some data that may be missing for richer 360-degree view on your customer, for example, insights. And in a lot of cases, you can't even wait to do that. You really look for your BI platform to provide some of the out-of-the-box industry vertical or business domain specific solutions for marketing, for sales, for risk across multiple industries. So rather than buying such solutions from a third-party solutions based on a monolithic platform where you buy that solution and that's really all you get, wouldn't it be nicer to get those solutions from the BI vendor where the solutions are based on this modern a platform where you can have the cake and eat it too. You get that out of the box solution day one, but if you need to extend it or you need to build something customized on, you have the platform, right? So that's what we recommend looking for here. Security is obviously a very, very complex, long conversation. The main thing that I encourage you to do, and this is especially important in the world of cloud BI, when you deploy this in the cloud, is make sure that whatever region, whatever industry, whatever region you're deploying this in, and whatever industry you're part of, that all of the the regional and industry and other whatever other regulations you are bound by, that BI platform has certification, and hopefully not just that the vendor self-certified or claims self-compliance, but there are like ISO standard, right? To get a certain ISO standard, you need to go through certified kind of a consultants who would provide official ISO certification. That's what I'm talking about. So look for certified by neutral independent third parties that specialize in this. Look for these types of certification. All of you, and I see a lot of people dialing in from global enterprises, right? Obviously, you need to be able to do everything that I just talked about, not just in multiple languages, but have the environments localized. Things like currency and business terminology, etc., needs to be localized to multiple languages. Now we get to one of my favorite topics. This is something that I've been started researching maybe a few years ago. So augmented BI, the simplistic explanation for this is that this is BI augmented with AI capabilities. So what does this mean? The simple way to think about this, think about two dimensions. Augmented BI first allows you a deeper insights, because basic OLAP technologies that most BI platforms are based on, OLAP SQL, can give you descriptive and diagnostic analytics and insights based on descriptive and diagnostic analytics, but you really want predictive insights, and you want to understand correlations. You want to build forecasts. You want to understand causality between matching. What drives a metric, etc. And what you also want to do is you want to broaden access to data and analytics, because I and my colleagues from Zoho and pretty much all BI professionals, starting maybe 3 decades ago, thought that GUI, graphical UI, point and click, drag and drop, is going to be panacea, and it's going to enable all business users to access insights without needing to code. Well, that took us only to about that 20% penetration that I talked about, I think, to start breaking through that barrier and to start reaching a much broader audience. We need to think about different UI, different UX, and conversational or more cognitive UI, kind of asking questions of your data in natural language to query, NLQ for short, and getting answers to your questions in addition to visualizations, getting answers to your questions in a narrative, natural language narrative, NLG, natural language generation. That's kind of the next step. I'm not saying that it is going to get the penetration of BI and enterprises to 100%, but it's definitely the next level that we need to reach. So augmented BI now basically turns turns business professionals into data professionals, right? So somewhat reducing reliance on data professionals for everyone, and some data professionals, some business professionals can even become citizen data scientists, because what you're seeing in the upper left, right of the white portion of the slide used to be the realm of data scientist professionals, kind of people with masters or PhD degrees in math and economics and physics. But many modern BI platforms now embed these capabilities as a single click, anomaly detection, identify a trend, predict predict something, etc. So that's where we see augmented BI. And I'm going to wrap this up based on a very important capability. This is less of a technology, because it's really mostly about how you deploy it. And as long as the platform has everything that I just talked about in the last 20 minutes, you should be able to personalize BI experience for different stakeholders, because just saying, yeah, we've got power users and casual users, right? Or we got producers of data and consumers of data is no longer enough. That's typically how we used to categorize BI personas, but that's things are a lot more complex. So I encourage all of you to dig deeper. If you're forced a client, reach out to us. I've got a lot of great research on this topic in terms of for different personas. And typically when I talk about personas, I talk about, so let's start with a C-level executive, then maybe one level down, a department head, then maybe another level down, like a middle management, then a business professional and a data professional, but a data professional, not an IT pro, but a data/business professional, like a marketing analyst or security analyst, a risk analyst, right? So those are typically the 5 personas that I research by, and those 5 personas are going to have completely different technical skills, and their data literacy levels are going to be very different, and their decision patterns are going to be very different. That difficult was a Freudian slip. They're going to be very different. Strategic decisions, data requirements, and analytics patterns for strategic decisions are very different from patterns for tactical and operational decisions. And the way these personas consume analytics, whether in a canned format or guided format or exploratory format, whether it's a push versus pull, right? Data analysts wants to ask questions. Some senior level executives may want to get insights pushed to them. If you're a field worker, you may not even have access to a device that can display a dashboard. So you need to consume it via alerts, etc. Right? So definitely invest time in understanding your business personas along these patterns, and customize, personalize your the BI experience for them. And to start wrapping up, recommendations. But obviously, hopefully, all of the last 30 minutes was one big recommendation. But if we were to cherry pick some top recommendations, if you're still at the beginning of this journey, and which probably means that you're C-level executives don't really understand the importance of everything that I just talked about, you need to educate them, right? So invest your time into educating them, show them data points and similar studies that I presented at the beginning of this presentation. And this is a good time to start implementing a more on BI platform, so you can start infusing insight-driven business capabilities. At an intermediate stage, this is when we get into the people process part, right? This first part is you need a strategy, right? At the second stage, you need to refine your people and process kind of capabilities. Again, I can talk about this hours and hours, but if I were to call out a single most important process, we call this BI governance, which needs BI on BI or usage analytics monitoring. You need to understand how those personas to whom you deployed these applications, how they're using it. Are they using it frequently, infrequently? Do they like it, or don't they like, right? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you need to understand all of these usage patterns and continuously learn and improve, right? And at that stage, you can start expanding based on lessons learned, right? Based on these usage analytics and understanding what works and what doesn't work, you can start rolling and expanding a modern BI platform across the enterprise. And at the advanced stage, hard work never stops. This is where I want you to start investing into not just insights, but embedded analytics capabilities, and start kind of drawing direct correlations between insights, actions, and tangible business outcomes. And hopefully you can start monitoring this and learning an improvement, and whatever gold nuggets you uncover where these insights really drive tangible business improvements, that's when you start scaling this out across your entire enterprise. So that was my part of the presentation. Thank you very much. Yeah, analyst name, I should have deleted that analyst name. Obviously, this is my name. But LSP, I'll turn this over to you now.
Thank you very much, Boris, for taking us through the session. Pretty informative, of course. We've been talking about this insight-driven business for a while. So yeah, I will just start my part of the session here real quick. So everyone should now see a Zoho BI and Analytics platform presentation showing up on their screen. And in the interest of time, I'm going to go through this as quickly as I can. The reason being, we want to engage with Boris, you want to engage with Zoho and ask questions about the BI practice and what needs to be done in the organization. That's what we want to get to. Just want to give you a quick idea about Zoho and get into the Zoho Analytics platform. The company has been around for 25 years, over 9,000 employees. We make over 45 business applications, SaaS-based business applications, from sales, marketing, business intelligence, custom application, low-code platform, and whatnot. We have customers in over 180 countries, 60+ million users on the platform. The company is private, was bootstrapped, and has been profitable from its first year of inception. So again, really quickly going over this is a modern BI and analytics platform, has the ability to integrate data from different data sources. Once you integrate the data, you can prepare the data and then make it available to the business users or the data analyst team for doing data analysis, which is essentially comes to the self-service BI capability that the platform offers, which can be deployed on-prem as well as be consumed on cloud. So in terms of deployment, you can have the on-prem version, you can have it or consume it from Zoho's own cloud infrastructure, or deployed on third-party cloud providers such as AWS, Google, and so on. Now, in terms of how the data or the insights are consumed, it can happen within the BI platform, or like Boris was talking earlier, it can be embedded into the business application where a business user lives. You don't have to necessarily have them jump between applications to get to insights. You can have these insights in context of the business applications that they're using, and they can go from there. And over and above this capability, the platform also has a lot of marketplace applications. So we have integrations with a variety of business apps out there, like the ServiceNows of the world, the Shopifys of the world, and so on. And as a organization that's using any of these platforms, you can consume Zoho Analytics from within those marketplaces. And down below, I have the evolution of the product. So this was not something that was created 2 years ago or 5 years ago. We have been in this business of creating a BI platform since 2009. And what you see in terms of numbers, we are just basically tracking the number of customers starting in 2009, where we had 100 customers, cut to chase in 2021. We have 13,000 customers who are consuming Zoho Analytics as their BI platform. So moving forward, in terms of the architecture itself, so I talked about the overall capabilities of the product. Now I want to peel the layers of the onion and get into the architecture itself. So from a core BI perspective, you have the ability to do data integration, bring data from different data sources, business applications, local databases, and I said, cloud data warehouses, and files and feeds and whatnot. Once you bring the data in, you can create the models, cleanse the data, do the transformation, do any kind of enrichment that you want to do, and catalog the data and make it available for analysis. Where it goes into the analytics layer, you can start doing things like statistical analysis, time series analysis, and so on. And once the analysis is done, it can be made available for consumption, as data stories, where we are now able to talk about these, visualization or these insights being presented in a nice-looking website, or embedding them into Zoho Show, which is the presentation software from Zoho. In that sense, what happens is you're making it open for exec teams to consume data and not have them just give them access to static reports and charts. You can make a very compelling presentation that has interactive charts and reports that are embedded from the Zoho Analytics into the presentation and so on. The visualization, like any other visualization platform, you have the ability to create reports, dashboards, embed them, and so on. And in terms of the consumption itself, it can happen on web interface, mobile interface, and you also have the ability to schedule these reports to be sent via instant messaging applications or emails and so on. So apart from that, it also has the ability to extend. For example, we have business providers who actually create custom connectors at the data source level. They create a full-blown analytics application and then have it embedded into their own business application. We have some CRM providers out there who use Zoho Analytics behind the scene as the analytics engine and provide analysis into their own application. From a augmented analytics capability, the system has the ability to predict, do predictive analysis, automatically analyze data. Any data that you bring in, the system helps you to get the whole process in terms of jumpstarting your BI practice. You have the ability to automatically analyze data. There is ZIA capability where you have natural language interaction, where you can have a conversation with the platform and say, show me the sales for the last 10 months, right, by agent or by region. The system will automatically respond with a nice looking visual for that particular question that you have. Going further, not just natural language interaction, it also has natural language generation capability, which is going to explain what's happening and bubble up inferences to a casual business user as quickly as possible. And from a deployment standpoint, like I said earlier, you can consume it on Zoho's cloud, you can consume it on third-party cloud, or you can choose to have it on-premise. Now, coming to the security and privacy aspect, now Zoho as a company has a very philosophical stand, or very strong stand when it comes to security and privacy. All our data centers are GDPR compliant. Now, you may ask, okay, why does it even matter about all your data centers? The reason, we found that GDPR is the lowest common denominator in terms of the best practices that you have from a security and privacy standpoint. So all our data centers, we have over 6 data centers spread across the globe. You have US, Europe, China, India, Australia, and so on. All our data centers are also compliant with ISO certification and SOC 2 Type 2 compliance. Now, if I want to kind of highlight the key differentiator of the product, what you're looking at is the unified business analytics capability, where what we have done with respect to business apps integration is we have just not gone to the point of connecting to these business applications and getting the data out into the Zoho Analytics data warehouse. We go a step further. We actually take many steps further than that. We actually import the data. We create the model for analysis. We create or train the semantic layer for natural language interaction. We automatically create reports and charts and dashboards for all these business applications out of the box. So if you are, let's say, a Shopify user, all that you need to do is connect Zoho Analytics to your Shopify platform, and the system is going to bring the data, it's going to do the synchronization, it's going to create the model, it's going to create the reports and dashboards, and also allow you to interact with the data using the drag and drop interface, which which is pretty common in every BI platform. And not just that, you also have the semantic layer trained. And the beauty is, as far as the semantic layer is concerned, it's open in the sense based on how you interact or how you talk about different entities within your data set. You can train the ZIA layer and have your own semantic to interact with the natural language system. Apart from that, the embedded BI capability, the extensibility in the platform, the diversity and the choice and flexibility in deployment, and the total cost of ownership are some of the key differentiators. And also one of the things that we also see a lot of times that comes up from our customers, especially when you go to different review sites and whatnot, they talk about the ease of use of the platform, and which, again, we are basically listening to what our customers are saying about the platform, and we think that's the design with which we want to build this to make it easy for business users to get their insights. And talking about the platform, talking about some of the key capabilities, I also want to highlight one of the a pretty big company out there in Spain that is into automotive parts making. They're a manufacturing company. They have 3 production facilities worldwide, 5 design centers, over 1,000 employees, and then they have a sales channel. They have direct sales channel and partner sales channel, reseller sales channels through which they sell. And in their case, they had this whole challenge about connecting all the resellers and having 360-degree view of their business was one of their challenges. And they had multiple data sources. They had data from Salesforce. They had data from SAP. They had Zoho Creator applications and Zoho projects that they were using for project management. So they had to bring data from different data sources. They had to unify and create a unified model. And as a part of that, they did the data preparation, the transformations that they wanted to do before they created the models for analysis. Once that was done, they took it for analysis, and then it was made available as reports and charts and dashboards to their business users. And they consumed it on Zoho's cloud infrastructure. So they basically went with the cloud native offering that we have, and they chose to do it on Zoho's own infrastructure. Now, if you look at the capabilities, they were doing unified business analytics. They were doing data preparation. They used the auto analysis capability to have a jump start and then incrementally build on their reports and dashboards. They use Ask ZIA pretty extensively, and they also use the scheduling mechanism to do weekly, monthly, and daily reports that are sent out to the different stakeholders in the business. Now, if you look at business benefits, you're looking at them having the ability to have a 360-degree view of the customer journey, right from the time when someone signs up for the service or parts or products to the point where it is delivered. They have full visibility into the entire process and the customers have the ability to look at all the the stages. It's just not used internally. These reports are also shared with their customers, so they have a visibility and full transparency about what's happening with their request within the organization. It saved them tons of time. They're processing more than 10 GB of data on any given day, and they have 300 plus users who are accessing the reports and dashboards for their daily business use at any given time. And Claudio, who is the director of Primo Group, he basically talks about the benefits that especially he has around eliminating the manual scripts, especially around preparing the data, because they were bringing data from so many different data sources. They had to write a lot of custom scripts to unify the data, but that's where the data management and data preparation capabilities help them. ZIA has also helped them to kind of bubble up inferences to a casual business user and kind of pushing the needle in the direction of more data literacy within the organization. And we just wanted to highlight that. And with that, I open up the floor for questions. We have 10 minutes. Boris, Sandy, thank you.
All right, so let's jump right into it. So our first question comes from Sasha Michael to Boris. The question is, what is the difference between and the role for self-service and augmented data prep and traditional data integration?
Yeah, excellent question. So I always think in terms of 80-20 rule. This is important. So we need to find a perfect balance between governance and control and single version of the truth and agility, right, and adaptability, because we live in a world where change is the only constant, right? So that middle ground potentially can come by following this 80-20 rule. So for authoring BI content, for getting new insights from your data, business users need to be empowered and trained to basically get 80% of their own insights, right? Only for 20%, they need to go to IT professionals to help them author something most complex and mission critical. For data prep, data integration, we'll flip that 80-20 upside down. 80% of all data pipelines really need to go through centralized, professionally managed and controlled and created data pipelines. But for 20%, we need to make exceptions. There are a lot of one-off use cases, right? There are a lot of use cases where I can't wait for IT to turn around my data prep request. So 80-20, kind of you flip that upside down, and that's the difference between data integration for centralized, mission critical, kind of a repeatable analytics versus one-off use cases or use cases where you can't wait.
Okay, and our second question comes from Bella Jacob, also to Boris. So maintaining an effective, insights-driven business requires a long-term commitment to reap the results. Given the dynamic changes in the industry and customer demands, businesses need to react quickly. How do we manage this gap?
So I love that question, because again, it talks about that, finding that perfect balance between single version of the truth, which is what we want, but single version of the truth in a classical sense is very rigid, right? And then typically we build rigid processes and architectures around it. So basically you need to find, once again, that perfect balance between governance and control and agility. And this agility and adaptability, being able to react on a moment's notice, comes from all four parts: people, process, data, technology. All right, so the people part we talked about, right? So 80% self-service, that if most business users are empowered and authorized and trained to fulfill most of their requirements, they don't need to go through approvals, right? So that's a people part. The process part would be what I talked about earlier. I just touched upon that, BI on BI or usage analytics, right? Don't wait for your business users to come to you with new requirements or complaints. Monitor what they do. Right now, you look at the usage logs, you look at the usage patterns, and if you uncover that they are doing something that potentially will lead you to believe that you need a new application, you need a new data pipeline, you need a change in your data model, right, etc. So you proactively react to that as opposed to being reactive. Like that's a good example of a process part. On a data side, I always recommend multi-tier data architecture. Relational databases are great for what they were invented, 3-4 decades ago. They're not agile, right? Anyone who's done DBA work knows that that's not the case. So I always recommend multi-tiered architecture. For example, the foundation can be a data lake, which is no SQL. Data lake is a filing system, and a modern BI tool can actually query a filing system. Very easy to change something in the filing system, right? Because it's what's called schema on read, right? Where your data model, your data schema, and your data are separate, right? And you basically create that schema, create that model at the time of querying. Not very efficient, right? That query will probably take a long time, much longer than you can optimize a query in an SQL database, but you make your choices, right? For an application where your requirements literally change every day, relational database is probably not the best architecture, but for something repeatable, yeah, it's a so kind of there are lots and lots of best practices like this to make the entire people, process, data, technology environment very adaptable to ever-changing needs. Great question.
And just remember, if we can't get to all of your questions, we'll be following up offline. So with that, question number 3 from Ritu Panja to LSP: is it possible to combine the database of 3 different companies into one consolidated database and get their insights?
Absolutely, great question. Yes, absolutely. The whole idea of unified business analytics is the ability to bring multiple data sources into a single database where you can start, if it does have relationship, then you can start, the system will automatically, make suggestions about the fact that the data points are connected, or you can use SQL and other mechanisms within the tool to connect the data points and have a unified view of the business. Absolutely possible, yes.
Terrific. And question number 4 from Virgin Jerome to LSP again. How far is Ask Zia customizable?
Yeah, like I said during the session, it is customizable to the point. This is a semantic layer, so you can start defining your own semantic. For example, let's say you're looking at data from a sales application. In your context, in your business, users may call your clients customers, and you can basically instruct Zia and map the clients or account column to the text called customers, so that your business users can go into the system and say, show me customers in East Coast, or show me customers in Texas. So the whole idea is you can create and define your own semantic based on what you use in your organization. We have kept it open to the point where business users can go and do that. And not just that, you can also associate weights associated. For example, if you're looking at a column that's basically talking about, let's say, something numeric, maybe the sale amount, you can basically say you can assign a lot more weight to that column, and then apply a default aggregation such as sum or average or median or something like that with a column like that, and go and interact with the system. So a lot of capabilities out there, depending on what your business case is. Definitely open-ended to the point where you can go and customize it as per the needs of your business.
And then I have a question for Boris. Are natural language interfaces deployed widely by customers for analytics? Have they become mature enough for real business use?
Very, very good question. So I mean the industry is still experimenting with this. So my hypothesis, as you saw me present it and describe it earlier in the presentation, is that the traditional point and click, drag and drop type interfaces have only taken us so far, right? It took us many decades to get to that 20% penetration and adoption. The hypothesis is that natural language interface will broaden, will ease access, will ease data consumption, and therefore will break through that 20% barrier. That is yet a TBD. That's yet to be determined. It's way too early. There haven't been any studies, even and I talked to, so I don't have any statistically significant numbers, and even based on anecdotal evidence, and my anecdotal evidence is based on multiple hundreds of client conversations. Everyone is still experimenting with this, so this is way too early to answer this. But again, hypothesis is that it's the next thing, but yet to be proven.
It looks like we are nearly out of time, so apologies that we're not able to get to all the questions. But like I said, we'll be in touch to answer these directly via email, and we'll also be emailing all of you the recording of the webinar. So thank you so much again, all the attendees, to our speakers too, for joining us. I hope you found it useful. Again, please take a moment as you click on the leave button to complete the feedback form. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Boris. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you all. Take care.